Hello everybody, this is Steve Sims with the Crazy Bible Stuff podcast videos. We appreciate you guys watching them. If you've watched some of our videos, you know we've spoken about the Georgia oil that's flowing from a Bible of a man in Dalton, Georgia. Jay Tyler and I, who do this series, we don't have anything to do with the oil, but they brought it to Murfreesboro, Tennessee this last weekend. And so my wife and I went to a church in Murfreesboro that seated about 300 people, and it was exciting because people had come, they filled it with like 400 people, and they had come with wheelchairs, on crutches, and there was this sense of expectancy. And when we went in and got seated, people began to go up and line up, and the Bible was there in the big plastic container and full of oil, and people began to come up and they let them put their hands in the oil. So I got in line to do that, and I also noticed as people were walking away from the oil, they were coming and saying, "You want some oil?" And they were touching people, and their hands were dripping, and they were praying. And before I got there, several people had touched me and said prayers. It was an amazing sense of community and a sense of the awe of God that lasted for about an hour before anything started. So by the time I got up to the oil, they were saying, "Okay, we need to move it on, so don't stick your whole hands down in there and rub them together. Just put your fingertips." So I went up and stuck my fingertips about up to the knuckle here in the oil, and I started to walk away. I looked, and oil was all over my palms and the back of my hands. And I was like, well, how did this happen? You know, because I just stuck it into about that deep. And, so I was in a state of awe. And people in the room were just awestruck. And then we had a season of praise and worship where everybody just poured out their hearts to the Lord. And my wife and I were sitting by these two ladies from Memphis to Murfreesboro. They'd driven, 4 hours from Memphis to Murfreesboro. People were from all over. We met some other people from Georgia that had come up, and in addition to the people with the oil. And it was just an amazing event, and it wasn't centered at the front. One of the men who are own the Bible, and one of them actually preached for a while, but he said one thing that really stuck with me. He said, we kept asking God, "Why have you given us this oil?" And he said, God began to show them through all the testimonies. He said, we have gotten testimonies from all over the world of people who've taken the little vials that they give away and have anointed other people and prayed for other people. And he said, we have had testimony after testimony of miraculous healing. He said, I didn't do that. It was all God. He said, had it been me praying for people, I could take the credit, but I've had nothing to do with it. And so he was convinced that God gave this oil so that people would take the initiative to pray for one another, to minister to people, to say, I've got this oil, do you still have that headache? Let me pray for you. And so as they start to minister and encourage each other, amazing things happen. So at the end of the meeting, he said, that's what we're going to do today. We just tonight, instead of focusing on the front, if you've got your vial of oil, begin to pray for the people around you. So this congregation of probably 400 people began to pray for one another, minister to one another. And throughout that whole night, it was such an awesome sense of God. And then the two men that take care of this oil, they want the glory to be to God. I just wanted to share that was one of the most amazing Christian meetings I've ever been in, and the focus wasn't people worshiping the oil, it wasn't people praising the men, the guy who preached, it was people enraptured with the reality and the love of Jesus Christ.